Hey, it's Ami with the Teacher's Teacher, and today we're looking at, is it a function? Make sure to follow along with the guided notes provided as we go through these examples together. Let's begin by looking at the definition of a function. Remember, a function is a relationship where every x value is paired with exactly one y value. Or, in other words, the x values do not repeat. Now let's look at some examples of whether or not relationships are functions. We're going to begin by looking at ordered pairs. In example 1, we can see we have the ordered pairs 3, 2, 3, 3, negative 2, 0, and 0, negative 1. Our x values are 3, 3, negative 2, and 0. As you can see, 3 is paired with 2, and 3 is also paired with 3. Therefore, in example 1, this relationship is not a function. Let's look at example 2. Our x values are 3, 4, negative 2, and 0. Notice every x is unique and paired with only one y value. So in example 2, we can say yes, it is a function. Now let's look at mapping diagrams. When given a mapping diagram, remember the first column represents the x values and the second column represents the y values. In this case, we can see that x, the value 3, is paired with 2 and with 3. Because this x value is not mapped with one y value, we can say that this relationship is not a function. Let's take a look at example 4. In example 4, we note that the first column represents the x values and the second column represents the y values. We can see that 3 is paired with 2, 4 is paired with 2, negative 2 is paired with 3, and 0 is paired with 0. Therefore, we can say, example 4, it is a function. Now, let's take a look at some tables. In example 5, let's look at the x values provided. Notice we have a negative 2, 0, 3, and 3. In this case, our x value, 3, is paired with 2, and 3 is paired with 3. Because our x values are not paired with exactly one y value, we can say that example 5 does not represent a function. Looking at example 6, our x values are negative 2, 0, 3, and 4. Notice every x value is unique. Therefore, we can say that example 6 does represent a function. Now let's take a moment to look at some graphs. When determining whether a graph represents a function, it's important to use the vertical line test. If the vertical line goes through only one point, then we can say yes, our graph represents a function. If our vertical line goes through more than one point, then we can say that x is paired with more than one y value. Therefore, our graph does not represent a function. Let's take a look at example 7. When we look at our first x value, notice our vertical line only goes through one point. When we look at our next value, x, which is at 0, it also goes through one point. When we look at our next x value at 3, you will notice that it goes through 2 points. Therefore, example 7 does not represent a function. Looking at example number 8, our first x value goes through -2, and there's one ordered pair that it goes through, -2, 3. Then we have an x value at 0. Again, it goes through one ordered pair. We have an x value at 3. It goes through one ordered pair. And we have an x value at 4. And notice that vertical line goes through one ordered pair. Therefore, example 8 does represent a function. Looking at example 9, when we draw a vertical line anywhere on this graph, you will see that it crosses through exactly one point on our line. Therefore, example 9 does represent a function. Looking at example number 10, if we use our vertical line test, everywhere we draw a vertical line, it passes through the graph one time. Therefore, we can say it does pass the vertical line test. Every x value is paired with exactly one y value. So number 10 does represent a function. Looking at number 11, if we draw a vertical line at 0, we can see that it passes through the graph one time. However, if we continue to draw vertical lines, we will notice that there are certain points on the graph where our vertical line touches 2 points. Because it does not pass the vertical line test, we know that example 11 does not represent a function. Let's take a look at example 12. When looking at our vertical line test, we can see that there are several points on the graph where our vertical line will cross through two ordered pairs. Since it does not pass the vertical line test, we can say that example 12 does not represent a function. Thanks for tuning in.